Hello, this is Orange Cat, and this is my analysis for the new Toonami schedule that'll kick off the new year on January 5th, 2019. As you might know, after tonight, which is a normal Toonami lineup, the following two Saturdays will be both marathons. I believe one is Dragon Ball Kai and the other one's Boruto. I'm not 100% sure, but those are the two marathons. So naturally, I won't be doing ratings, analysis for either of those weeks. So let's go ahead and talk about the new schedule. It just came out a couple days ago and is pretty controversial, I guess. So let's just kick off with just announcing what the schedule is. As you can see here, it starts off with Dragon Ball Super at 11, so the first 2 hours are cut. However, they get another hour at the end, at 4 to 5 o'clock. And then you have Boruto right afterwards. And then you have My Hero Academia at 12, Psycho 1000, Psycho 100 at 12:30, Megalobox at 1, JoJo at 1:30, Black Clover 2, Hunter x Hunter at 2:30, Shippuden at 3, Attack on Titan reruns at 3:30, Pop Team Epic reruns at 4, and Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans reruns at 4:30. I guess I'll go show by show with my analysis of where it's put on the schedule and my take on that. First, I think Dragon Ball Super being put at 11 o'clock was a nice, solid bet, like a nice, solid thing to put there. I mean, it's been doing reasonably well at 11, and it's the type of show that I think that can carry over from presumably something like a Family Guy, which will probably be at like 10:30 beforehand. I think it can carry well from Family Guy to Dragon Ball Super, considering I guess it's arguably the most American friendly anime on this list, debatably. So I think that's a decent decision, just lead off the block with that, especially at that hour. And then, interesting enough, you have Boruto 11:30. I'm not so sure it should be on this early. I think it should. I'm not opposed to it being next to Naruto. I thought it'd be better that way. It helps Boruto better because it's, of course, the most similar show to it. And they're putting it by itself at a very, not vulnerable, but at a very favorable hour, something that could be spent with a show that you know is going to get good ratings at that point, which Boruto hasn't really proven, especially when it doesn't have Naruto, his father, as a lead-in. And then you have what's probably, in my opinion, the only good scheduling move in this whole block with My Hero Academia. Like I said, 12. It'll probably be the second highest rated show on the block for the time being at this spot. It's definitely going to do better than the 0.13, 0.14 it's been getting, languishing at 9:30. And so its ratings can maybe help Toonami, help Adult Swim, help William Street recoup some of that money from that deal to get the show over here. Because, like I said, they do not have a streaming as they do for virtually every other show in this block, which is part of the reason why Toonami is probably profitable because it still can get streaming all these other shows. Then have My Psycho 100, which is kind of getting punished a bit, being pushed back to 12:30. I think I really like Mob Psycho 100. I watched the sub and I've been going along with the dub as it's been going on Toonami, watching that live. And I'll admit it's kind of in a point where it's a little slower, but I mean, it's a very good show. And I think it has the potential to really be a mainstay, albeit it's only got like 4 or 5 more new episodes before it's done with this run. So we'll see if it reruns or not on the block. But at the same time, it's a show I also think has a lot of potential and is really more of a before midnight style show. But again, you don't have that many before midnight slots now, with only 2 slots before midnight. Then you have Megalobox getting a pretty nasty demotion to 1 a.m. It's a 1 hour drop, and like I said, it's a new show to the block. A lot of hype, at least on like our Toonami and other anime places I've found about it being dubbed and put on Toonami. But it really didn't do too well in its first ratings. And it's only gonna get one more new episode, which is tonight. Oh, dubbed episode tonight. Then it's gonna have this 2 week break and it's gonna be put in this very bad slot. It's just not it's just not very conducive. And then now you have JoJo at 1:30. I'll admit, I've been kind of calling for JoJo to be pushed back to around 1:30 for a while, so I'm honestly not complaining. I mean, it's still a little while before you really get it to heat up in the show, and when it really starts heating up, I think it should be put in a better slot than this. And then now you have an hour, and then the next hour is probably the most head-scratching hour in this entire schedule. You have Black Clover and Hunter x Hunter. Right now, in terms of where they are in their shows, relative to everything else on this block, you have the two most hyped shows. You have Black Clover really getting into things, and you have Hunter x Hunter, which has definitely been into things for a while, and they're getting demoted an hour. And I watch Hunter x Hunter live each week. The two shows I watch live on Toonami each week are Mob Psycho 100 and Hunter x Hunter. And I'm gonna have to start DVRing Hunter x Hunter. Like, I'm not staying up to 3 a.m. for it. I could stay up to 2 a.m. to watch it live, but I don't know, that extra hour, I mean, I have stuff to do Sunday. I'm not sure I can just watch that live. And that's gonna hurt its live ratings, I think. Especially these two shows, which are really starting to get people around them too, especially Black Clover, which was hated for the longest time when it first got selected by Toonami. People kind of come around to it over time, and it's starting to get liked. A couple weeks ago, it was the second best rated show on the block. I think I think that's a stupid decision by Toonami to push these two shows back. And you have Shippuden at 3. Well, that's very understandable. I've been calling for this. I've been calling for Shippuden to be pushed back for a couple weeks, so I'm not complaining about that. So I think it should be with Boruto. I mean, I think having them separate's gonna hurt both, especially Boruto at the top of the block, and especially you can't have a weak link like Boruto in the block because that's gonna hurt like the shows around, like the shows after, immediately after, like My Hero Academia, which is finally in a great spot in the block, first time in like I guess since September when they switched to the full 7 hour experiment. That My Hero Academia is finally back in a decent slot, and it's gonna get hurt a little by having a show that's I think been propped up a bit by Naruto, honestly. I don't have a strong opinion about Boruto or Naruto shows, but I don't think separating them is going to help them in the ratings at all. And then you have the rerun part of the block, which I'm not going to talk much about because they're reruns. Like you have Attack on Titan 330, understandable, very popular show in Adult Swim on Toonami, so it's gonna be allowed to continue its reruns. Then Pop Team Epic, I guess they're contracted to finish rerunning this or something. It's not a really well received show on the block, and you see a notable drop on ratings every time it airs. And then you have Gundam coming back, which is going to be interesting. I mean, interesting to see being that the very last show in the block, if it kind of becomes kind of a steady show, like kind of how Samurai Jack was, how Cowboy Bebop was late in the schedule. It's gonna be interesting to see how that does, see if it can maintain over 0.10, which has been a problem the last few weeks for the tail end of the block. So I guess now here's the point where I say more broad statements about this schedule, about this block. I think this is a weak schedule. Like, like there's some decisions I made that are very rational, very understandable, like pushing JoJo back a bit, having Dragon Ball Super stay at that 11 p.m. slot that basically as prime time as it gets for Tommy, having My Hero Academia at midnight, which is, like I said, a very watched hour for Toonami. And then you get these decisions like pushing Black Clover and Hunter x Hunter right when they're in the most hyped parts in their entire shows back. Then you have separating Boruto and Naruto, albeit they got the right decision by pushing Naruto back to a late slot. And I guess they're stuck with Pop Team Epic. I was gonna say that's a bad decision too. And I think it's an interesting decision though to have Gundam back. Like it's kind of gotten a mixed reception. Like I've seen some people really, really love it being on the block, some people really, really hating it being on the block. But I don't have a strong opinion about it. It'll be interesting to see how those numbers turn out. So, like I said, I believe I can't remember what I specifically said when I did the 7 hour challenge back in September, but I thought like I think in general it was gonna kind of fail because I pointed out some shows, some scheduling that didn't really work right. And for this one, I'm gonna say this is not gonna reverse the general downslope trend of Toonami the past few months or so. Like you could talk about cable cutting, which of course has impacted Toonami's ratings and Toonami's scheduling. But at the same time, you have these shows that at the start of the summer, half the block was doing 0.20 or better. And then now you have just Dragon Ball Super, and that barely did that this past week at a 0.21. And another questionable thing is they cut Dragon Ball Kai, almost right before I think it was starting to get into an actual arc. And I've heard some people say that William Shoot was gonna lose the rights to air it in January, which is why it gets cut from this schedule. But I mean, if that wasn't the case, then that's kind of a head scratcher too. A show that was actually starting to look comfortable in its slot and start to kind of build ratings, getting just straight cut like that. And then of course you have Lupin omitted because I believe it hits the end of the run this week. Maybe I'm not 100% sure on that. And then yeah, that's really it. And Samurai Jack, I mean, it's free. Cartoon Network owns it, and it's a free loan over to Adult Swim. So I mean, whether it's on, whether it's not on the block, it's not really going to affect Blame Street's profit line at all. But yeah, like I said, to sum it up, I can understand the mentality behind making this schedule. Understand when you cut 2 hours at the front, stuff's going to naturally have to be moved back. But I think this just looks very awkward to schedule. Awkward, and I don't think this is going to bring great ratings. I think Dragon Ball Super will do fine. It's going to be doing what it's been doing. My Hero Academia is probably going to have an increase, but I don't see any honest reason to think that any other show is going to do better off the schedule. And that's really it. And I mean, hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. I mean, what do you think I'm wrong? Leave a comment below. If you like this content, if you want to see and hear more content like this, please subscribe. I appreciate your input, and I am Orange Cat, and that is all.